A few months ago, my good girlfriend, we'll call her Lisa, and I were going to the forest to smoke. The forest is about a kilometer behind the village that I live in, and just for the record, we went there every weekend, so it was just a normal Saturday. The forest was beautiful. Everything was normal. And then as we were sitting on a bench, Lisa spotted this random little path hidden about 5 to 10 meters behind us. We'd never noticed it before, so naturally, we decided to check it out. So we were walking on that path, and at the end, there was a perfect circle made of trees. Literally normal trees, just like any other in the forest. So we entered the circle. I was in the middle of it, and Lisa was standing next to me. But as soon as we entered, everything changed. The birds stopped tweeting, and it started to be cloudy, but it was sunny and warm the entire day. A chill set in, like the temperature had dropped. I looked up in the sky, and then I felt different. I don't know how to explain that feeling. It was like I had just shifted, like I just teleported somewhere that I've never been. At the exit, I felt like something touched my back. I screamed and started to ride a bike as fast as I could. I stopped in the middle of the road to wait for Lisa, who was behind me. When she came, it was even colder. My hands were freezing. I couldn't feel them and couldn't move them. We decided to go slow again because we were far from the forest. After some time, I realized no matter how far we were, each time we looked back at the forest, it looked like it was about 10 meters away, as if it was following us. When we finally came back to the village, everything was warmer. We went straight to my house and called our very good friend. We'll call him Phil. He came and we told him what happened, and he was shocked. Lisa also told me that when I felt like someone touched me, she saw something behind me. The rest of the day, 3 of us hung out and watched a movie to relax, trying to shake it off. When it got late, Phil and I walked Lisa home. Then Phil headed to a party while I went back home. The next day, Phil told me and Lisa that when he was walking home, he was passing by the road that leads to the forest. He said he heard something, he couldn't quite make it out, but it sounded like someone saying, "Kais." Phil is also not schizophrenic, and nothing like that ever happened to him. Also, all the way home, he was sweating and felt like something was watching him. The following week, Lisa and I took Phil back to that same path to show him the circle of trees. But this time, when we got to the end of the same path, there was no circle. A month after the incident, all 3 of us had nightmares every night. And recently, Lisa and I have started dreaming about people who aren't with us anymore. Lisa's been seeing her cousin, who passed away. And about a week ago, I had a dream too. And in the dream, there was one man that did something bad to me and Lisa. He's dead. But in my dream, he was there. And his wife was standing next to him. He was apologizing about what he did, and his wife was crying. At that moment, I knew somehow that he wasn't alive, and I was confused. I don't know if these dreams have anything to do with the incident. It was one of the strangest, most unsettling feelings. There is more creepy stories from my dad, mom, and even other family members. This is just one of them. It's 1993. My dad and his friend, let's call him Mike because I can't remember, were both 12. They were at my dad's house playing games. My grandma was out with friends, shopping, and my grandpa was out of the picture. It was late, and they were playing games with their door closed when they heard something. It did not sound like the front door, so they were confused and creeped out. They did not take any chances, so my dad got a bat and Mike got something. Can't remember. My dad's house at the time was kinda like a circle. So my dad went to the right, and Mike went to the left. Maybe switched, I can't remember. They both slowly made their way to the other side of the house. Once they made it, they saw nothing. They're both confused, and my dad turns around to walk back with Mike, the way my dad came, when they see a black, unnaturally long hand on the wall, quickly pulling it back and leaving a scratch mark on the wall. My dad and Mike run the other way back to their room. The front door was on the same side of the house as the thing, and locked the door and waited till my grandma got home. When she did, she got mad at my dad for the scratch mark on the same wall. They tried to explain, but obviously, she did not believe him. This was definitely the strangest experience I've had in years. I work a night shift for a warehouse, I won't say which, and I was coming home around 3 a.m. Now I'm out in the country where my home is in the hills, and it's about half a mile from the main road. About halfway up, the nice, smooth road turns to dirt. As my wheels hit the dirt, I felt eyes watching me almost immediately. Which normally I wouldn't care, 'cause it's normal to see wildlife watching me come up the road. Only as I got to my normal parking spot, I grabbed my pocket knife I keep in the glove box and stepped out. My eyes immediately turned to the direction of a dark patch of woods on the other side of the road. Something told me to look there, and I held my knife up calmly, saying, "I know you're there." As the words left my lips, the world went dead quiet, which was very strange, as there is a waterfall maybe 500 to 600 feet away from me, and I can always hear it when I come home, but even it went silent. It stayed like this for a good 10 seconds before the sound returned, and I heard something running away from me. I just kept my knife to my side and walked like I normally would to the house, as I felt like running would have been a bad idea. As I got in, I saw the dogs that normally greeted me weren't anywhere in sight, and they were in the living room, both looking out the window in the same direction. I felt the gaze something from. I didn't say anything to my fiancée as she was asleep, and she doesn't have a belief in the paranormal as I do, coming from my Mapuche heritage, South American Indian tribe. I grew up on stories from my dad and had heard the Native American stories of the Wendigo, skinwalkers, and other spirits creatures. But since that night, I've never felt that same presence. No idea what it could have been. I just know it wasn't deer, like I'd normally see around my home. A few years ago, I was a trainee in a local supermarket. That may not be the most important point, but I guess a bit of background information is never wrong. Well, it happened that I had an early shift and needed to be at work at 6 a.m. It was late November, so it was dark when I jumped on my bike and left. Until then, everything was pretty normal, at least until I took a turn to the right. That was when I heard a scream. The weird thing is that it kind of sounded human, but also not. It wasn't a cat in a fight. I lived all my life with cats, and I know how they sound when they scream. But it wasn't all human either. A shiver went down my spine. I remember it clearly. I went faster so I could leave this place and get somewhere safe. The next parts of my way were pretty calm. And then there was the bridge. To get to the street where the shop I worked in is located, I had to take a way under a heavy bridge. It's nothing usual, and I didn't mind. But after I passed the bridge, I heard the same scream again, this time directly behind me. It felt like ice was flowing through my veins, and I quickly drove off. As I looked behind me to make sure nothing was following me, and saw a strange shadow, slightly formed as a human, but not fully. It's hard to describe. I heard the scream 3 more times until I moved. Since then, the screams stopped. I never heard them again. But it still sends shivers down my spine whenever I think about it, or when I drive to work. The way is almost the same, except for a few parts. When I was about 5 or 6 years old, my sisters and I used to share a room. Most nights my older sister and I would see 2 distinct figures. She would see a lady in white standing in the doorway, directly in front of my bed. I would see a man with red eyes, or at least I thought it was a man, as all I could see were red eyes. Though my sister could see the lady, she said she never spoke to her. She just stood there getting closer every night. While I, on the other hand, would see a pair of bright red eyes staring at me from the closet. A disembodied masculine voice would whisper, "JJ, come to the closet and play," over and over. Sometimes my older sister and I would jump in each other's beds and hide under the blankets until morning. This was going on for months, until my dad decided to get the house blessed again. We never saw them after that. I'm 24 now, and my wife and I recently had a baby. I've been having weird dreams recently. They would always start with me standing in my son's room, staring at the closet, and the familiar set of red eyes would stare back at me. In my most recent dream, he actually spoke, his voice a lot deeper and booming than I remember. "You didn't come to play with me, but your son may be the one to play," he said before I woke up. I called my dad and told him about the whole thing. He told me he remembers me telling him about that man years before. But then, just then, he went silent for about 5 minutes. When he spoke again, he recounted seeing the same figure as a child. He also told me he remembered having the same dream after I was born. I've blessed my house twice already, but I can only protect my son so much. I just hope, I really, really hope, that he doesn't go play in the closet. I may never see him again. If you're craving more spine-chilling tales, join us for more haunting mysteries and horror stories. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications.